Hello and welcome to Pretty Spooky Presents Low Carb on the High Seas. As kids, we could enjoy all the candy we wanted every Halloween and not pay the price. But as adults, things are a little different. Since Tiki feels like the grown-up version of Halloween, I find ways to reduce its sugary impacts to keep the fun going year-round. That is why I made my low carb on the high seas version of the Saturn cocktail and the scary cherry on top. Welcome to the Sunken Compass, my home tiki bar, where this episode of Pretty Spooky Presents is filmed. Pretty Spooky is a lifestyle brand and the grown-up's guide for how to create Halloween fun year-round. If your favorite holiday is Halloween, yet just one day isn't nearly enough, let Pretty Spooky show you how to take an eerie angle on the everyday and how to add a little bit more macabre to the mundane. In future episodes, I'll share more about the Sunken Compass, tips from my days as a former bartender, and spooky projects for creating Scaradise. But for now, we'll focus on the reason you're here, my Saturn Recipe and the scary cherry on top. On the surface, and in the glass, my recipe doesn't seem much different than the original 1967 recipe. The Sunken Compass guest menu describes the Saturn as gin, lemon, passion fruit, and falernum, melted together by sweet, creamy, homemade orgeat, garnished with a cherry lemon ring of Saturn. In a previous episode, I revealed the one secret to real orgeat real fast, along with my 1944-ish Mai Tai. And that orgeat recipe, along with the homemade Luxardo cherry recipe I'm about to share with you, are what keep this Saturn recipe low carb on the high seas. So creep on over to that episode right after this one to get the details. And just like every good bartender, we will start with the end in mind and prep the garnish first, because there's nothing worse than watching a drink melt while the bartender fumbles with the garnish. The original 1967 Saturn had no garnish and was shaken and served up. The cutesy ring of lemon around a cocktail cherry was an early 2000s addition. While the garnish is intended to mimic the rings of planet Saturn, the cocktail was actually named after Saturn the rocket. But it's a fun garnish that's about to get pretty spooky. Let's start my recipe for low carb on the high seas homemade Luxardo cherries, which is how I normally garnish my Saturns. You'll need 32 ounces organic frozen sweet cherries, 4 cinnamon sticks, 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon ground nutmeg, 1 teaspoon ground Chinese 5-spice, and half a teaspoon ground clove. Heat all of that together gently to thaw the cherries and render some juice. Then add 1/4 cup brown sugar swerve, 1 tablespoon vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon almond extract, and heat and stir gently to dissolve the sweetener, but not to break up the cherries. Add 2 ounces of Luxardo maraschino liqueur. Skewer the 4 cherries. Plastic or metal skewers are easier to remove once the cherries are frozen. Suspend the cherries in the molds. For my ice mold, the correct ratio was 1/4 teaspoon unsweetened powdered cherry Kool-Aid and 1 tablespoon allulose sweetener and 1 teaspoon Chinese 5-spice. Fill the bottom half of the mold, then add the top and finish filling the skull cavities. Place the tiny scary cherries in the freezer with plenty of time to freeze fully. After a few experiments, I learned the water content of Kool-Aid freezes better than actual cherry juice due to the high acidity and natural sugar in real cherries. Since I usually have a batch of scary cherries ready to go in the freezer, I'll show you my usual way I garnish my Saturn first. I'm very particular about my lemon rings for a few reasons. I refuse to skewer strips of lemon peel wrapped around a cherry. Because my homemade Luxardo cherries are so good, I don't want to have to deconstruct layers of messy peels to enjoy them, and neither should my guests. And I've seen Saturns garnished with lime, which makes no sense since there's no lime in the recipe, and the lime peel isn't edible, therefore adds nothing to the flavor or fragrance of the drink, like mint would in a zombie. Garnishes are supposed to either visually advertise the flavors of the drink in an attractive way, or add to the cocktail in fragrance, flavor, or theme. Think of an espressed orange peel in an old-fashioned, olives in a martini, or a paper parasol in a tropical cocktail. A lime garnish on a Saturn serves none of these purposes, so in my book is wrong and inefficient. Before I begin my cocktail, I cut a wide lemon wheel from the exact center of the very same lemon that I will use in the cocktail. Then carefully remove the juicy flesh of the lemon and add it to your squeezer, leaving just the white pith and yellow peel for your garnish. Set the ring aside while you make the drink. The bartender's menu shows the recipe as 1 1/4 ounce gin, 1/2 ounce lemon juice, 3/4 ounce orgeat, 1/2 ounce falernum, 6 to 9 cubes of frozen passion fruit. You can spindle blend with no ice to blend the passion fruit, or you can add the 6 to 9 cubes of passion fruit with gin and muddle until the passion fruit is incorporated and shake the remaining ingredients with ice. If typical freezer cubes were my only option, I would serve it like it was made in 1967. But since I have purified pebble ice, I get excellent consistency and dilution. So I serve mine with ice in a tulip glass, which is perfect fit for the modern garnish. And skewer one side of the lemon ring, add the cherry in the center, and skewer the other side of the lemon. Add a straw. So there you have it, my low carb on the high C Saturn with my homemade Luxardo cherry recipe. But wait, what about the scary cherry on top? Never fear, or maybe you should. Behold, the Saturn and the scary cherry on top. While the scary cherry will never replace my delicious homemade Luxardo cherries, it's still fun to add a cherry ice sculpture because it's an absolute head turner. I'd love to know how these recipes and methods compare to others you've tried. Now, if you prefer yours to be low carb on the high C's now too. And be sure to check out the link below for the one secret to real orgeat real fast. I know you'll be nuts about it. I loved being your haunted hostess. You are a wonderful guest, and you're welcome back always. Farewell until next time. Cheers.